Hello, my astrology friends. This is Lada from AstroLada.com, and I'm your astrologer for the September 2025 horoscopes. September is eclipse season. That's when things really shake and move. That's when we tend to get, if there is any natural disasters, they're most intense around that time, and those are happening on the axis of water, earth. So we have to watch out for that. The lunar eclipse on the 7th of September, the Virgo eclipse on the 21st of September, solar eclipse. So, whoo, and this is also a sign that in the next 6 to 12 months, because eclipses affect us globally for a long time, there will be big shifts in our medical system. Pisces, Virgo, they're connected to health, to medical things, matters about health and such stuff will be very important. Medical healing system, hospital system might be changing. Virgo is the workforce, and there will be other eclipses in Virgo. So something will shift for the next, already from September, but the job market in a big way. Watch this out. Of course, with AI and everything, oof, exactly those 2 years of eclipses in Virgo and Pisces. Pisces is unemployed, Virgo is working people. There will be like a huge change. Who is unemployed, who is working, maybe more unemployed people because of AI. We'll see this because the eclipse in Virgo is with the South Node, which is like weakening. In Pisces, with the North Node. So they might be like that more people will feel like, what are we going to do, Pisces? And where are we supposed to, are we unemployed now? What is our use? Well, Virgo is like, I feel useful and so on. So the eclipses are happening there on those two Pisces Virgo line. So medical, health, and working, non-working. So this is some of the themes, plus earth and water. You see, the other eclipse in Pisces or near Virgo was with Saturn, Neptune. We had the big water floods that happened in America right after this eclipse. Now let's pray. It's also hurricane season, so who knows? But on a personal level, the first eclipse, the lunar eclipse, is quite positive. It's trine Jupiter, its ruler. It's with the North Node, which tends to give us things for previous efforts, rewards us for something that we've wanted or you've worked on. While the next eclipse on the 21st of September is solar eclipse. It's about new beginnings, but it's with the South Node. You sacrifice something and the new is given to you, or you start the new, you open yourself to the new, and the old just leaves your life organically without effort. And Saturn is coming back to Pisces to finish old work. And actually, Saturn in Pisces cleans the slate, wipes the slate clean from past karmas. Think of problems that you had for the last 27, 8 years, or 14 or 7. These are Saturn cycles, or 21 years, or 14 or 7 or 28. That has been repeated. Saturn is coming back for the last 5 months here together with an eclipse there, a lunar eclipse, which lasts for 3 months to wipe it clean. So you start anew after that. So some repeating problems been bragging you, you're going to solve it in the next 5 months. But before I start with the 12 signs individually, I have a new course. I'm so excited. It's an ancient technique, 3,000 years old, ancient Hellenistic, the 3 periods of life. Everyone has 3 periods in life. Not everyone lives through all three. But there is a specific way and very easy. You don't need to know astrology. I lead you through that, how to calculate. For some people, the first period of life might be 17 to, for others, 38 years. And to analyze and to see, someone might be born in poverty and they shift into their second ruler, second life period, and they become so successful. Or someone might get into success and fortune and improved life and health only in the third period. So in their 70s, 60s, or some people move into the third period at 50. So for everyone is different. And I'll show you how exactly to calculate it, how to compare the periods, which is stronger, which is weaker. So you have a sense, like my first 38 years, I was in a very weak planet. And now I moved after that. So life has been wonderful into a much stronger planet. So or someone might be like very successful, famous, or, in the young adult years, popular and very promising. And then suddenly they disappear. They enter into their second period, which might be very weak in their horoscope, and they're like Mr. Nobody. So fantastic, only $20 for early bird purchases. Again, I want it to be very accessible to you. And now let's go to the eclipses September for each of the 12 signs. Thank you. Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, September 2025, Tropical Western Astrology. Aquarius, this month, all the important events are happening on the axis of your second and eighth house, which is about resources, your resources, other person's resources, how much you give, how much you receive from others, how much others give to you, what they expect from you, what you expect from them, their values. So they might be at moments even clash about your values with your partner's value or other people's values, but it can also play harmonious where you balance those out, where you find solutions of, say, your priorities and what you value are different than your partner's. You can figure out a way to come to a middle ground. But let's start from the beginning of the month. Saturn is returning back to your second house, where it's been for the last 2 years approximately. It nipped out of your second house for 2, 3 months, but it's coming back to finish unfinished business there. And it's going to stay quite a long time, up to February. So almost 5 months. So you're going to, and at the same time, on the 7th of February, sorry, of September, there is a lunar eclipse in your second house again. So extra focus and attention on your values, on what you consider beautiful, attractive, tasty, on what you consider worth investing your time and energy in. It's also your source of energy and your resourcefulness. So there is like Saturn coming back is asking you to work a bit longer or even to complete, for example, a project that you might have started or some kind of work that will allow you to have more financial independence in the future. Maybe the results don't come immediately, but it's something you need to complete now, the next 5 months, that will give you more financial independence. And it usually requires extra efforts and, trying to solve a few problems here and there. It doesn't happen just by you ignoring it. And eventually this will give you for the next 28, 90, 28, 27, 28 years can become a source of financial stability and resource for you. And the eclipse there can unlock certain resources as well, can illuminate resources that you had available around you, but you didn't think of before. And Saturn can make you work on that to materialize those. And full moon eclipses illuminate secrets and something that was hidden, and or it can start through a crisis sometimes. But this full moon eclipse has Jupiter trining it. The ruler of the full moon eclipse is trining it, so it's going to be for good. But there can be some shakeup financially, maybe expense, maybe needing to find sources for something, or maybe some kind of focus for you on solving some material issues and finding resources and working with practical material things. For example, I'm decorating one flat, and this whole month and the next 4 months, have to find what I consider beautiful. And I'm realizing that my taste is really changing because second house is your taste. And like before, I liked such kind of girly stuff. Now it's way more different preferences that I have. So in this process, I'm seeing how my values and my taste and it's kind of more practical now, and I'm opening up to new possibilities as well. But it might be, something like reevaluating what you need keeping and maybe throw out some old, because full moon eclipse is also about releasing, letting go, something that has reached its full potential, so you can detach from it now. And Saturn is detachment as well, to allow you to detach from certain old possessions or certain old ways of approaching money and approaching your resources, certain old ways, and put more order in your resources. Saturn is about order. And eclipses is about finding something to do it in a different way. So definitely about your own financial independence, some important decisions you'll do, not just in September, but as I said, Saturn is there 5 months, eclipse is 3 months. It can be triggered by some unexpected situations sometimes, so you can pay attention to it more. Or also to create more security for yourself in the future. Also, you can change during the next 2, 3, 4 months how you eat. Saturn can even kind of tweak your tasting buds in a sense that you require less food, or that you stick to more simple foods, or that you can do some hard work to change your eating habits right now. And Saturn gives you the perseverance, and the eclipse can give you a deep emotional realization about that. So it's not just external efforts and tweaks and changes, but it's deep, profound emotional change as well, because it's in Pisces. And actually Aquarians, having in the second house of resource, energy, and food, Pisces, they're very emotional about money, about food. They might be even emotional eaters, or the emotions can really affect how they feed themselves and so on. So there might be some deep realization with this eclipse, like a breakthrough or release, maybe even of a trauma or pent up emotions that are contributing to putting things that are not healthy in your mouth. And it's not always food that we put in our mouth. How we would think sometimes that coffee sustains us, that drinking sustains us, that is a resource for us, or that what we put in our body, what we eat. So it can, you know, really reshape that area of your life. And if you had some long-term karma, maybe it's been for the last few years, maybe for 7 years, a Saturn cycle, or a bigger Saturn cycle, 14 years or 21 years or 28 years, the full Saturn cycle, maybe something that you've been struggling for a period of a time. You already know what it is connected to money. For example, you always like short on money, or you never have control of your money, or there's blockages, or you value yourself, you're struggling with self-worth, you always undervalue yourself. And it's been not just the last few months or something, it's a long-term repeated pattern. Saturn and this lunar eclipse end over the next 3 to 4 months, and this repeating karma, because Pisces is the last sign, and that's where the slate is being cleaned, wiped. So you can, for example, start, if it's been repeated sense of inadequacy, sense of worth, that you're less than, that you keep having problems financially, as we said, or how you eat. Maybe you've been having problem with food, mine started exactly when Saturn was in the second house 28, 29 years ago. At the beginning, I was like not eating. I was just eating fruits and vegetables for a week, and then I'll binge eat on the weekend. And after that, it passed into, so I didn't want to do that. Passed into smoking, passed into drinking. And, like we know that when Saturn makes a complete circle or half circle or an opposition or another square, it can interrupt the cycle or clean it. But the biggest cleanup is when it returns back. So maybe something that you've been struggling with, even if you're younger than 28 years, in the second house area. As I said, self-worth, material worries, fears, restrictions, or how you eat, what you put in your body, how you sustain yourself. They can be wiping clean of this. This karma is finished, so you can start anew there and build a different way of doing things there. And your taste, as I said, your taste can really shift and change. Maybe it's been happening for a while now because Saturn was in that second house. And then on the 21st of September, we're going to have in our eighth house a solar eclipse. Solar eclipse is new beginnings, new moon solar eclipse. But that's the second one within a month. The first one was on the 23rd of August that started to direct us towards new direction, new starts of the eighth house. And then we have a much more potent, another one in the same house. We call it once in a blue moon. Well, it's when two new moons or full moons happen within the same month. You're having that. So the universe is pointing your head and saying, I'm giving you an opportunity, and Even if you don't want to, you have to go in this direction to start something new with this eighth house. And the solar eclipse lasts influences for 6 months, you know? And so this influence starts from the end of August and it continues 6 months ahead, or even seven. That it's a new opportunity and most potent in September, of course, because the eclipse is then, and the whole October, because the new moon influences you for a whole month, of solar eclipse for 6 months, to start a new beginning in this eighth house. What is the eighth house? On a psychological level, this is shadow work. And today is exactly the day of the new moon in Virgo, the first one. And I woke up with the thought, I need to do shadow work. And I'm like, what is even shadow work? I've heard it before, but with this intense need, it's in my eighth house, like for you, Aquarius. And I read it, and it's psychological transformation, psychological breakthrough and releasing. And so this is what it can open, especially the eclipse is even more potent than the new moon in August. And the eclipse in September is more potent and it's much longer lasting. And what is shadow work used to? To integrate the parts of you that you hate, that you're ashamed of, or that the parts of you, the hidden talents that you might have that you've rejected. So total transformation. So this is some of the things that you can focus on and be successful with and begin with this eclipse psychological rewiring of yourself with some practical steps because it's in Virgo, maybe with a plan. You know, shadow work is every time you get triggered by something, you speak to the little child in you, like a little kid. Hey, my darling one, or hey, bud, why are you upset now? Let's see what is triggering you instead of doing the compulsive thing. Because eighth house is house of compulsions. When we don't do the shadow work and psychological transformations, we act compulsively without knowing one, like this constant hunger. Eighth house is the scorpionic energy, constant hunger, hunger. It's never enough. That's why it's house of obsessions, addictions, and so on. So there is some very psychological big breakthroughs you can do with this eclipse in the eighth house and two new moons there. And whether you work with a psychologist or whether it happens spontaneously, eighth house can act very fast, you know. It's like rewiring of your chakras. Eighth house rules the chakras, the speed how big they are, how quickly they rotate, which direction they rotate in, all the openings in the body, apertures, as they say. So this is an eclipse can spin the wheel and make it spin faster, sometimes even psychological and spiritual experiences. It's the door to the invisible world, near-death experiences. Oof, please no. I can read, but and I always love reading about such things, but with the eclipse now, two new moons, maybe that's how it's a remedy. You read about the life after death, about transformational experiences, about deep psychological changes, about people who heal from eighth houses, also spontaneous healings or say remissions, some disease you've been carrying for, you know, genetic or whatever, long-term spontaneous healings. This new moon eclipse can open the door for new healing modalities for you, because it's also, especially it's in Virgo, which is also healing sign. So yeah, sudden rewiring of the deep recesses of your soul, and even those demons that are buried, or this shadow side coming to the surface, being released, because the solar eclipse is with the south node, so there is like the energy of being liberated as well. South node is released, but you're doing some steps or coming across some healing modalities, and this starts working. It's also, as I said, so you don't activate the more difficult side of the eighth house, which can be sudden reversals, shocks, secrets, betrayals. It's a dark house. Let's not kid ourselves, you know, like sudden, I don't know, like crisis, sudden, it's bankruptcies, the house of bankruptcies, divorces, near death, rebirth, but death and rebirth. Okay, we're not dying, Aquarius. Don't worry. Pluto is in our sign. The planet that's most closely connected to the eighth house. But the universe is calling us and pulling us towards psychological breakthrough and psychological rebirth. and transforming. Eighth house is the transformer from one state to another, crossing that bridge, not to the other side. You're not going anywhere, don't worry yet. But this crossing that psychological bridge. So yeah, you might come out of this. Some of you, maybe not all Aquarius, of course, but there is a good portion of you that can come out of this eclipse. Maybe not exactly on the 21st of September, maybe a few 2-3 months, as I said, it's 6 months long, as a reborn person or a person with. I remember the last time there was eclipses in our eighth house in Virgo was 9 years ago, and 9 years ago, and that was when overnight my whole life turned upside down. Well, downside up in my case. But it was like I woke up one morning, I got rid of my whole previous life, quit that was right after the eclipse, in the eighth house. I left husband, moved to another continent, got married, got pregnant, eighth house is pregnancies, but such very sudden reversals can happen because of some sudden deep realizations and psychological breakthrough. And eighth house is moksha house, which means to be free, to be liberated from attachments emotionally. So is the south node, which is causing the eclipse. So you have this double whammy energy here, to be freed, to be released, but to start something new. So you can start something new, or you start something new and it frees you from some old baggage and inner demons and old stagnant, because eighth house is also like, if it's not moving the energy, it becomes what is that, like bog, where the marsh, like a marshy boggy area, and we can feel stuck. And also it can open you this two new moons there in one eclipse, pregnancies for some of you. It can trigger open to realign you through a pregnancy, through secret affairs, eighth house, or through soulmate like relationships and intense alchemical sexual attractions as well, or even sexual healing. Sometimes one needs a little bit of intimacy to open oneself to another, to remove blockages that didn't allow you to connect with another on a deeper level, so you can have this healing. But on a more material level, the eighth house is other people's resources, money, your mutual finances with your husband or wife, money that comes to you from clients, money that comes to you from alimony or from payments from others in some way, or from the government, support, material, financial, or emotional, that comes to you from others. And the universe is asking you to open up, to be willing to receive from others, because it's two new moons, new beginnings. By letting go, possibly, of some other support that you've been receiving from maybe another place, but a new source will come. Also, to open yourself to new sources of help from outside, or new ways to attract others' finances, to attract others' skills and talents as well. It's not just their money, it's all their resources. They have skills, they have knowledge, they have anything that's valuable in them. To open yourself and even to look for help from others, how they can help you with their ideas, their resources. And of course, Saturn is asking you to be in the second house with the eclipse, to release some old attachments that you have to possessions, to what you consider valuable, so you can welcome in other points of view of what is valuable and what others can contribute from the eighth house for 2-3 months at least. You can also be open up to interest in the occult, in astrology, study psychology, read about such more mysterious, more profound things, so do some research. It's eighth house. It's what, aligns us to deep research, introspection, and sudden realizations as well. And if you want to do some psychological, astrological study, check out my course on the 3 stages of life. It's only 2 hours long, only $20. I always try to do things very affordable. and to see how each stage of your life and which years it switches. It's a very ancient technique, 2000 years. I've been testing it for a month. It really works. 70 to 80%. So check it out. But yes, Aquarius, mine versus yours. My finance, and of course, it's an eclipse in the eighth house can indicate some first psychological shock or financial shock. Two eclipses in financial houses, so some financial important developments, but they're opening you to something new. They're realigning you to the right path. And there is a lot of healing that is happening as well, and a lot of release and shadow integration, whatever that means. We'll find out soon. Or maybe to dig out, to research, to study something in depth as well, which is the eighth house. So thank you so much. Hope you're blessed. And yeah, Venus is in your seventh house. So there can be some fun times with relationships. Your partner can be more loving as well. And this eclipse in the eighth house is saying that, okay, open yourself to intimacy to receive from others, whether support, emotional, psychological, or maybe a new beginning. Maybe your partner gets a new job and that's new source of income coming for you or something like that, or some new investment you do together as a couple that can be very pivotal, very uh, important in the long term for you, because new moons, they give their results much later, maybe 6 months, maybe a year and a half or so on. But now you start the beginning steps. So thank you.